Well, Brian, I guess we're going to have to talk about the night before SummerSlam Smackdown at Cleveland, the Rocket Mortgage Field House. Google for me if you can how many people they had there while I vamp for you for a second. But I'm wondering if this was the old Gund Arena and now it's become the Rocket Mortgage Field House. Because it looks like a big old building, but they had a big old building up there already. Anyway, have you got any of this information?
A couple things here. It opened October 17th, 1994. It was the Gund Arena.
Okay.
SmackDown. This is the wrong SmackDown I'm looking at.
Well, you had one for two at least, but the Gund Arena was where they had SummerSlam 96, Vader and Shawn Michaels, and it's a big old building. I think it seats 20,000, somewhere abouts. And that's where the WWE, or F, or as it was known then, used to run. But it was a brand new place then. That's why I couldn't imagine that they had just cast it out like a bad penny and built another one in that time. Go ahead.
I need another moment, if you don't mind.
Oh, God damn it. See, you usually have these things at your fingertips. You had all the information on the Gund. The reason why I'm saying this is because let's remember they're in Cleveland, and I know it's SummerSlam, and it's a big show and a big destination, event for WWE fans, but they're not in Las Vegas. They're not at Nashville for the country music, or Florida for the weather, or somewhere else for the whatever. They're in fucking Cleveland because they had, I'm trying to find goddamn notes here, that 57,000 something. Now, even with WWE math, they had a lot of fucking people in that stadium. Where do they announce? 57,791 is what they announced for SummerSlam. Do we know anything about paid there yet?
Paid? No, we don't know yet.
So, but they announced that many. So you add what they had in the fucking Gund Arena, which is an NBA arena. It seats 20,000 people, and that was fucking jammed. They had a decent sized stage, but still, the fuck, 60 or 70,000 people in Cleveland. How is it? It's good, but it ain't that good, is it? I am shocked and amazed. Anyway, they get people to come and pay and park and come in to see an infomercial the night before to advertise the pay-per-view. And that's kind of what SmackDown was. And just of note, it won't take us long. I have observations on, what happened in a couple of the spoken word interludes. They had the Cody showdown or face off or pose down, strip down, whatever with Solo. And they don't have to do anything. Cody does his entrance. They chant his name. They sing the whoa, whoa. They go crazy. He got, what do you want to talk about over finally? I think he could come out and fucking fart. They'd be, yes, what a great fart.
Okay, and give me a break.
Well, I mean, they're telling very good stories. But at the same time, still, it's like, are they putting something in the soft drinks when the people come in the arenas? There's some kind of mind control device being, maybe when you get your ticket from Ticketmaster these days, they also chip you so that you're a pawn of the WWE Fan Enforcement Committee. They're doing everything they want him to fucking do. As soon as he mentions Solo, they boo him, and then they play his music, and out comes Solo. And have you noticed he looks like a Samoan Al Sharpton?
Well, now that you say it, I guess I could see it.
The thing about Cody, he's got a long black coat over the top of another black coat with a gold chain around his neck and the gloves, and he looks like before Al lost all that weight. And as soon as he gets in the ring, they chant, "We want Roman." I mean, he tells the fans to acknowledge him, and the screen goes black. Apparently somebody said, "Fuck you." And they chant Solo sucks. And then they speak to each other. And Cody delivers that, staccato roller coaster of verbiage in a flawless manner that I know you think is overly dramatic, but it fits this. It fits this Shakespearean scene they've got going on here, where the lights are on these people as
I am from multiple points in time here to talk to Flash Gordon. Like, what is this way of talking? It's just so, because at times when he nails Cody can get the humanity of everything better than most, and he also gets the fakeness of the overacting of everyone.
The grandiose.
Yeah.
It's grandiosity. And it's like Dusty.
It sounds like Dusty doing Shakespeare.
Yes, and alas, poor Yorick. I knew the motherfucker well, Horatio.
Maybe not that Dusty doing
That's the way he'd do it on the plane. After watching the Volunteer Jam 1 videotape about 3 times, he would, last poor York, I knew that motherfucker better than anybody. But Solo is doing a good job here, given his level of experience, but the whole thing was to sell SummerSlam, and then the one part they got somehow crossed up, or somebody went to business for themselves, because Solo was starting to offer the challenge or proffer the challenge to make SummerSlam a Bloodline rules match, when suddenly there's Jacob Fatu coming through the fucking crowd, and it stepped on it. And then here comes the Tamas and the Loas and the Tongas, and Cody got it back on track, but they stepped on the challenge there, didn't they?
Maybe a bit, but I don't think so. I don't think it was that big a deal. I mean, we got a big reaction when Jacob Fatu started walking out. And then,
Yeah, well, it stepped on Solo's original offer of it. I think somebody maybe thought they heard the cue or whatever and sent the guy, but then Cody reiterated it. So they heard it. So there's that.
Do you think
you weren't offended by that?
Do you think there's much incentive to take on the Bloodline rules?
Well, no, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I'll just let you and all of your friends, make it okay for you to just gang up on me and just beat the shit out. No, it doesn't make any sense, but that puts jeopardy in the babyface's path. And to be honest, all of these people now have given up on having anything make any sense anyway. They just want to see some fucking Jeopardy. I lost on Jeopardy, baby. Woo.
All right, I don't remember the woo-woo-woos there, so let's
remember the Greg Kihn band did Jeopardy, and then Weird Al did
that's right.
The Jeopardy parody. Anyway, Cody Rhodes says to them he's not afraid of the Tongas, and he ain't even though he may be dumb or whatever, I'm not afraid of Jacob Fatu, you dumb son of a bitch. And then everybody chanted for Cody, and Cody agreed for the stipulation, Bloodline rules at SummerSlam. And then Solo told Cody, well, I'm not going to have them kick your ass now, because they're going to win a tag team title night, and we're going to kick your ass tomorrow. And Cody said, well, the tribal chief's not here, so I'll settle for the wannabe. And then they all walked off.
Well, that got a big reaction. You just went through it pretty quick. But when he said that, again, referencing Roman, that he's the real tribal chief, that got a big reaction.
Yes, it did, because they want to see Roman. Hence why they've been chanting, we want Roman. And I didn't mean to throw it off like that. But that's the point, is that, they've established the pattern that if these guys get in the ring with somebody, they're going to just kill them and nobody does anything about it. And then they just, but this time we're not going to fight because they shouldn't fight that close to SummerSlam. It's already made, but they always have to do the thing where, they're going to be face to face. So now, because they always fight, everybody expects a fight. And then when they don't fight, everybody's let down because they didn't fight. So they kind of painted themselves into a corner there. Sometimes, they don't just always have to be face to face every fucking week, is the point I'm making. The match was already made. Everybody was as interested as they were going to be. But then they couldn't figure out a way for all these people to run in without it being Bloodline rules. So they just, let's make it Bloodline rules. Anyway, they had a bunch of fucking matches that didn't mean anything. And then Logan Paul came home. Logan Paul came home to Cleveland, even though apparently he's actually from Westlake, Ohio. It's what was revealed a little bit later on. But this is basic shit. It's see-through shit. You can see it coming and it's all working. The people are loving it. They hate the piss they love the piss being taken out of the heel they hate. They like it when the babyface LA Knight gets over on this fucking asshole. This is Wrestling 101 with a giant budget, where they can have banners made and drop them from the ceiling, and they can hire extras or just have people that work in the office now that are wearing a suit, just fucking stand, whatever. But this was a 15-minute segment, and it didn't break any revolutionary booking ground, and everybody loved every goddamn thing. And it's just so simple. And Nick Aldis is in the ring. He announces he's in the ring with these Cleveland dignitaries, and there's two people and a woman standing behind him.
Yeah,
right?
Who were they? Exactly.
And they were not named. And then he introduces Logan Paul, and the people boo him. And as he's coming to the ring, the screen goes black 2 or 3 times. I don't know, they're giving him the finger, or they're showing their tallywhackers or whatever. And they've got a sign in the crowd, "Prime tastes like water from Lake Erie." And he does a good heel promo. And of course, apparently we're beginning more and more to find out he may be a dick, really. So now people are really not liking him. And they get all over him, and he trashes Cleveland because even though he's from there, he's better than them because he's a success and blah, blah, blah. And that's why he brought out these Cleveland dignitaries. And then Aldis said, well, I actually Googled their names, put them in the Google machine, and I couldn't find anything. And Logan Paul, you're not from around here. You don't know how much they mean. And he wants to
It's such a good answer.
That's
such a good
You're
answer.
not from around here, see, or you'd know. And he goes to unveil his championship banner with big fanfare. And when it drops from the ceiling, it's got "yeah" spray painted across it. And again, I said, this is classic wrestling. I have done this saying. I did it in Smoky Mountain Wrestling when I unveiled the portrait of my mother, Mama Cornette, and the Rock and Roll Express had snuck in and switched a picture of a St. Bernard with curlers in its hair or whatever. And it's been done in every territory and the people love it. This is a fucking big budget deal. And that's when LA Knight comes out, and he gets a big pop, and they chant LA Knight, and everything he says is over. They and they fill it in. And he's the one that tells everybody that Logan Paul's from Westlake and gets a pop. And he said, I'm going to go in the back and get you a banner. Since I ruined your banner, I'll go get you a banner. And so he goes in the back, and he's wandering around. And this is like something they would have done with Steve Austin in 1999 or whatever. And he asked the jobbers for a banner. He ain't got no banner. And finally, he runs into the Prime Hummer. And at that point, Logan Paul in the ring's like, my fucking truck, and he starts running to the back, and LA Knight has gotten in it and started it up, and right as Logan Paul comes running in, LA Knight drives it off, and Logan Paul chases it. He can't catch it, and that's a crime. This is fucking wrestling. Can anything be more basic? And the people are eating it up.
Nothing could be more basic than a man chasing after a Hummer. Good segment. I agree with everything else you said.
It's as old as time. And then they had the women's tag team title on the line with Jade and Bianca against Fire and Ice, and the heels got disqualified because Blair Davenport came up, and they came up or came out or popped out. Whatever. And
what did she do? Now I'm completely confused.
Well, she interfered is what she did. She came into the ring and came out to the ring, interfered, and they got disqualified, and they beat up the babyface.
And she rose from a subterranean post to get there?
I'm coming out. I want the world to know. Got to let it show. I'm gonna beat these old bad heels up now. All right, anyway.
That was in your key.
Yeah, that was my key, all right. Well, speaking of the key of Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf, is where we're rounding this program out, because the men's tag team title was also on the line with Ciampa and Johnny Sameface, who's also from Cleveland. He let everybody know in his pre-match interview. They let him talk. Jesus Christ. They were defending against Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu, accompanied by Tonga Buyer's Remorse Loa.
Stop it. He's my favorite guy in the company right now.
So they put Jacob in this thing, and thank God, and he's getting over like a superstar. But Gargano, as I said, tried to do a fired up promo because he's a hometown guy, but we've seen this. I don't know how he lasts that long in this environment where he never gets any different, grows as a person, never blossoms like Drew McIntyre has. He's small, he's plain, he's technically proficient, and he looks like a fucking nerd. And he's never going to be a top guy. I can understand with Ciampa, he's in his 40s now, and he's had a history of major injuries that he's come back from like a goddamn cyborg. But and he's got a unique look and his work is great, but maybe they don't want to invest that much because of those issues. But what the fuck? Why keep this fucking Gargano around? In this star-filled environment, what does he offer to this fucking program except a boring indie presence? Is my question to you.
Well, you wouldn't want to lose a talent like that to AEW, so you got to do what you can to lock them
God,
down.
he'd be perfect over there.
He'd actually probably be in the super heavyweight division over there. But look, he's not my favorite. I'm not a fan of Gargano's, and once you point out his facial expressions, it never changes. Once you hear his promos,
never changes.
You realize that's not his thing. The skits that he was doing with his wife for a while, with Theory and Indy Hartwell, where they all lived together. It was like Three's Company, but there were four. It was terrible. Yeah, I mean, people like his matches because he kicks out of moves. He'll take big moves, he'll kick out of everything, and that's the key. You could take someone who looks like dog shit, and if they can work a match without getting hurt and just kick out of everything that happens to them, everyone will be raving about him.
Well, he didn't kick out of everything that happened to him here, because it was a decent match, short for this program's norm, and, but Jacob Fatu hit Gargano with a pop-up Samoan drop, a springboard moonsault, an implant DDT, 1, 2, 3. Thank you for coming, and stood over his fallen fucking body. Oh, werewolf of Samoa. Oh.
Isn't he from the Bay Area?
That's what I was doing. I was baying at the moon. Arr!
All
Now
right.
Harley just turned her head and looked at me. I'm sorry, baby. It's okay.
Now, obviously, tag team wrestling and the tag team division has meant nothing, it means nothing in WWE because of the way they use it, but every now and then the tag titles end up around or near main event people. What do you think of the idea of putting the belts on Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu here?
Well, this is perfect because even if the belts still don't mean anything because there are not a variety of full-time teams to challenge the Bloodline at the level that they need to be. In other words, everybody else is a middle card fucking talent in the tag team division. But with the Bloodline having the gold, and it's part of a promise that they're starting to fulfill of winning all the gold again, and having this hierarchy be dominant like the last one was, so that makes it mean something. And also you can have the Ortons and the Owenses and people, the LA Knight, whoever the fuck, teaming up to go after the tag team title, and you can put that in the main. You can't have the Bloodline versus Pretty Deadly or whatever the fuck in any kind of main event. But you can pair up the normal single stars that are fighting the Bloodline. So it's going to hopefully elevate the tag team title rather than the title elevating the team, because it's part of the top story now. So I like that. And obviously, we said it was going to happen. It had to happen. It couldn't go any other way because they weren't going to fucking beat Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga or any members of the Bloodline with Tommaso Ciampa and Jarny Gargano. Oh, Jarn.
Jarny Wrestling.
Jarny Wrestling. Carney Wrestling, more like it. But so that was SmackDown, and that set us up for, again, they're in Cleveland, and they've drawn 60-something thousand people over 2 days, and this was a 2-hour infomercial for what they were going to be invited to come back and pay to see the following night. I mean, you know, but am I wrong? How is this? TKO has hired a staff of mass hypnotists to cast a spell on these people because it's elementary shit, but everybody's over and people are fighting to give them their fucking money. How has this transpired?
I think it goes to the argument that the simple stuff is what works. And for years under Vince, they got away from a lot of the simple things that always work to the point where you would leave a segment of the audience with resentment, or they would feel like WWE resented them.
Yeah.
And you don't have that anymore. And no one's presented in an insulting fashion for the most part. I mean, like even the goofy stuff like the models, or not the models, but the model girl and Otis, like that's the height of the silliness now. So that ain't that bad, because it used to be a whole lot lower.
Yeah, well, quite a while back, Vince was out there pulling his pants down so somebody's head could be shoved up his ass.
And none of that stuff was on this show. You know, none of the things that fill up SmackDown and Raw, either matches that, you know, no one for the most part really cares about. It's not none of the main event people, none of the main event talking segments, or Raw, where you do have some silliness and, of course, the odd zombie or two. That wasn't on SummerSlam. You know, so it goes to say a little bit about what the priorities are and what's being put on these shows. And again, even if, you know, the babyface loses, nothing is done in a way that you feel like you're yanking the rug out from the fans. And you saw that a lot with Vince, whether it's things like guys losing in their hometown.
Yeah.
Like, for no reason. I mean, I'm not saying everyone has to win, like Eddie Gilbert at Memphis. That doesn't have to be that way everywhere. But it became like a thing to almost like fuck with the wrestler. And I don't think right now Triple H and Nick Khan and Lee Fitting are fucking with the wrestlers. They're collaborating with them. And, you know, happy wife, happy life, happy wrestling locker room, happy fan base. Who knows?
Well, and, you know, at the top, the Nick Khans and the TKO people and the Ari Shapiros and Ari Emanuel, Mark Shapiro. Mark Shapiro. Well, or it could be Ari Shapiro and Mark Emanuel.
It could be, but those are different people that don't work for this company or have any
Well,
positions.
regardless, it's a new day. They're just maximizing revenue. They're used to. It was almost like when some city government heard a wrestling show was coming to town, they're like, oh, shit, we got to try to put a stop to that. Now the fucking towns are paying them to please take millions of dollars to come here. Ah, Christ.